Stop everything you are doing and face this moment of brutal clarity. I need to ask you a single question that will fundamentally dismantle your perception of the world. Do you truly believe that your kindness is an impenetrable shield? Do you operate under the illusion that generosity builds loyalty, that unwavering honesty automatically earns respect, and that being a good person guarantees your safety? If you answered yes to any of these claims, you are standing at the precipice of a devastating truth. You have been operating under the most dangerous lie society has ever told you. The biggest, most catastrophic mistake men make is assuming that a good heart equals guaranteed security. But here is the raw Machiavellian reality. Unstrategic goodness is not a shield, it is a fuse. It burns through the very stability you sought to build. Your relationships, your career trajectory, your financial security, everything. Niccolo Machiavelli figured this out not by studying philosophy, but by studying human nature in its most chaotic state. He watched honorable leaders crumble. He saw kind rulers destroyed by betrayal. He witnessed generous, well-intentioned people systematically exploited by the very individuals they lifted up. And he captured this lethal dynamic in one immutable principle. A man who wishes to make a profession of goodness in everything must necessarily come to grief among so many who are not good. Today, I am going to share his hidden truth with you. The shocking, devastating cost of goodness that no one dares to discuss. In the minutes ahead, you will learn why your unconditional goodness is actually broadcasting your psychological weakness. Why most people don't respect your kindness, they merely exploit it. And most importantly, how to execute the alchemical transformation of turning goodness from your greatest liability into your most powerful strategic weapon. But I must be clear about the moral calculus. I am not instructing you to become an entity of malice. I am not asking you to hurt innocent people. What I am showing you is how to deploy your goodness strategically, not blindly. Because the uncompromising reality is this. In a world relentlessly populated by wolves, being a defenseless sheep guarantees you get eaten alive. Now, drop this affirmation in the comments and claim your strategic shift. I choose strategic goodness. From today, everything changes. You will no longer use your inherent goodness haphazardly. You will use it as a powerful, conscious tool. This video will uncover why goodness, used without precision, does not protect you. In fact, it often destroys you. And we will see exactly how to transform it into an unshakable source of real, lasting power. Let's start with the first shocking truth. Number 1. Goodness as psychological exposure. Let's perform a necessary act of brutal self-reflection. Think about the kindest, most accommodating person you know. Now, ask yourself honestly, are they truly respected by their peers, or are they merely the first person everyone calls when they desperately need something? The chilling truth is this: unconditional goodness does not procure security. It merely broadcasts your vulnerability. When you are relentlessly and predictably kind, people cease viewing you as moral. They begin viewing you as manageable. They know, with cold certainty, that you won't fight back. You won't deliver a firm no, and they can push your limits because you are simply too nice to enforce consequences. You quickly devolve into the office doormat, the perpetual friend who covers the bill, or the family member who sacrifices their own peace by always saying yes to helping, even when it costs them dearly. To understand this lethal dynamic, consider this common corporate scenario. I once knew a team manager, genuinely the best I had ever encountered. He was a paragon of goodness. He always helped his team, perpetually covered for their mistakes, and consistently placed their needs ahead of his own career advancement. Guess what devastating outcome followed? They promoted someone else over him. Why? Because the relentless desire to please and sacrifice does not signal leadership potential. It signals servanthood. The decision-makers saw a highly effective servant, not a strategist capable of commanding respect and setting boundaries. People do not respect your ubiquitous goodness. They exploit it. When your assistance is always available, it loses all value and becomes worthless background noise. When you never set firm boundaries, people are psychologically compelled to cross them repeatedly. When you consistently refuse to show your teeth, the world operates on the safe assumption that you do not possess any. Your goodness becomes your greatest weakness because it broadcasts a neon signal that you are available to be taken advantage of. Machiavelli perfectly summarized the strategic danger of this position. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. By choosing unconditional, unthinking goodness, you have tragically placed yourself in the position of a defenseless sheep in a world populated by predators. And that is exactly why you continue to absorb unnecessary psychological damage. Your primary mission is not to become a wolf, but to become the lion that enforces respect and the fox that anticipates traps. Protect your power. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I protect my energy and my leverage. Number 2, the generosity trap. Here is a psychological truth that will fundamentally dismantle your current worldview. The more you give unconditionally, the less genuine appreciation you actually receive. I know this sounds utterly backwards, but you must look past the superficial kindness and observe the cold mechanics of human nature. Generosity, at first, earns short-term applause. People clap, they offer kind words, they confirm how wonderful you are. It feels incredible, doesn't it? But over time, this very goodness twists, and your generosity breeds a parasitic cycle of dependency, toxic entitlement, and inevitable resentment. Let's dissect the mechanism. When you help someone once, they may be genuinely grateful. When you help them twice, they're thankful. But when you help them 10 times, they cease being thankful and begin expecting it. Your exceptional kindness quickly fades and becomes their baseline normal. If you ever, for a single time, say no, they don't remember the 9 times you said yes. They only remember the 1 time you cut off the supply. Suddenly, you are not the kind friend. You are the villain, the selfish one who failed to meet their entitled expectation. The psychology of entitlement. Think of the highly relatable scenario of parents perpetually indulging their children. The first few gifts are met with joy, but soon the new phone or the expensive toy is not a special gift. It is merely an expected entitlement. If the parents ever set a boundary and say no, the children erupt in anger, accusing them of being unfair. The exact same dynamic plays out in adult relationships. You always buy the check. You always provide the free labor or logistics. They appreciate it at first, but soon they stop saying thank you. They simply assume you will handle it, and when you finally need a reciprocal favor, they are suddenly too busy. This is the generosity trap. You give and give until that continuous giving defines your entire identity. The moment you need to receive or simply stop providing, you become the antagonist in everyone else's story. Your constant generosity does not build loyalty, it builds addiction. People become addicted to your giving, and like any addict, they become angry and hostile when their supply is cut off. The psychological truth behind this is known as hedonic adaptation. Humans rapidly adapt to positive conditions. What once felt exceptional and generous quickly becomes the new, mundane normal. Your repeated acts of kindness systematically lose their emotional power and become invisible. But your single necessary act of saying no, that stands out like a blinding red flag. That is what they remember. That is what they focus on, and that is what they weaponize against you. Machiavelli, with his brutal clarity, understood this flaw in human design. Benefits ought to be conferred gradually, and in that way they will taste better. The master strategist understands something the masses never learn. Scarcity creates value. Continuous abundance destroys it. Your kindness must be a precious resource, not an endless, devalued commodity. I give strategically. Drop this powerful affirmation in the comments. I give strategically. Number 3. The strategic mask of virtue. Here is a truth so stark it may cause profound discomfort. Society operates on the currency of appearances, not the substance of reality. People, by and large, do not meticulously care if you are actually good. They care if you look good. They do not pause to judge the authenticity of your heart. They judge the immediate impact of your image. This means that to effectively maintain power and command respect, you must wear the strategic mask of virtue while retaining absolute control and clarity beneath the public surface. Observe the most profoundly successful individuals you know. Do you believe they reach their apex by being genuinely, unconditionally nice to every soul they encountered? Absolutely not. They ascended by being strategically intelligent about precisely when, how, and to whom they displayed their goodness. They smile convincingly in public forums, but execute necessary, hard decisions in private chambers. They show mercy when the display serves to strengthen their position, and they reveal unyielding strength when the situation demands it. They operate on the fundamental principle that the appearance of virtue is exponentially more powerful than virtue itself. The surgical necessity of appearance. This strategic control is not about being fake. It is about being effective and surgical. Consider the metaphor of the surgeon. A doctor must make a deep, necessary incision to save a patient's life. Is the doctor being cruel by causing temporary pain? Number. The doctor is executing the precise action that needs to be done, even if that action looks harsh or causes immediate, necessary pain. Real leaders grasp that sometimes being truly good for the overall health of the system requires them to look temporarily bad to the public. Sometimes, protecting the strategic viability of your future demands that you say a firm no to someone who is currently failing. Sometimes, protecting your entire team requires you to make a necessary, unpopular decision about a single weak link. The mask of virtue is not a mandate for deception. It is a discipline of impeccable timing. It is knowing the exact moment to reveal your compassionate, soft side, and the moment to reveal the unbending steel of your resolve. Most men tragically reverse this. They expose their weakness to their rivals and their strength to their allies. The strategist does the opposite. Machiavelli, with his characteristic clarity, laid down the law. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. He understood that perception shapes reality. If the world perceives you as a person of weakness, you become weak. If they perceive you as a person of unshakable strength, you become strong. You must control the narrative the world believes about you, ensuring it is a narrative of controlled, formidable virtue, not of simple, exploitable goodness. To see this principle in action, picture a leadership scenario. As a manager, you must let go of a long-time, well-liked employee who, despite warnings, is consistently sabotaging the team's efficiency and morale. The naive leader avoids the decision, attempting to be kind, which leads to the entire team collapsing under the weight of one failing link. He is liked, but the result is failure. The strategic leader executes the termination quickly and cleanly. To the public, he is the cold figure who fired poor employee name. But to the team, the few who experience his reality, he is the decisive leader who protected their collective success and sanity. His image is momentarily harsh, but his strategic purpose is ultimately good. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I control my image, and my image commands respect. Number 4. The economics of power, the finite self. Every single action you execute carries a measurable cost. Every favor you grant. Every instance you say yes when your instinct screams no. Every moment you spend attending to others' needs instead of strategically building your own foundation. Most well-intentioned men never factor this into their personal ledger. They give and give until they are emotionally, financially, and temporally bankrupt. Then, and only then, do they look up and wonder why they feel utterly exhausted, consumed by resentment, and viciously taken advantage of. Here is the strategic calculus you must internalize. Your time, your energy, and your emotional bandwidth are finite, non-renewable resources. When you spend them freely on external demands, you have objectively less remaining for yourself. This is not a selfish acknowledgement, it is a mathematical certainty. Unreserved, unlimited kindness is a self-inflicted drain on your strength. And when you are completely drained, you are incapable of helping anyone, including the sovereign you. The law of necessary self-preservation. Think of the immutable law taught in airplane safety instructions. You are commanded to secure your own oxygen mask first, then assist others. Why? Because if you pass out attempting to help someone else first, you have not saved a life. You have created two victims who now require urgent rescuing instead of one. Life operates on this exact principle. If you utterly exhaust yourself serving the needs of others, you transform from an asset into a burden. You shift from being the strong person who provides solutions to the weak person who desperately needs rescue. Smart strategists understand that to survive, thrive, and lead, resources and energy must be guarded with lethal, uncompromising care. This discipline does not make you mean, it makes you strategically sustainable. I internalized this lesson through years of costly error. For too long, I operated on a policy of universal assent. Every request, every unnecessary favor, every quick question that spiraled into hours of unpaid work. I believed this was the definition of being good. But the reality was corrosive. I began resenting the very people I was trying to help. My own critical projects suffered. My ambitions were delayed indefinitely, and ironically, my chronic exhaustion made me less able to help the select few who truly needed my genuine effort. That was the moment of clarity. Saying yes to everyone means delivering a definitive, self-sabotaging no to yourself. And when you abandon your own critical needs, you will inevitably end up abandoning everyone else too. The most sustainably generous people in history were not those who blindly said yes to every demand. They were the ones who courageously said no to most requests so they could strategically reserve their resources and say yes to the right opportunities in a powerful, game-changing way. Machiavelli articulated the imperative of command. He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command. You cannot command external circumstances if you cannot command your own time, energy, and resources. You cannot successfully lead others if you fail to lead yourself with discipline. Self-command is the first step to external dominion. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I protect my resources and command my time. Number 5, strategic deployment of virtue. I am not issuing a mandate to become an entity devoid of feeling, nor am I suggesting that essential virtues like mercy, honesty, and genuine generosity should be completely discarded. What I am demanding is this. These virtues must be treated and utilized like finely honed weapons, deployed precisely at the right time for maximum strategic effect. A sword that sits untouched and polished upon a shelf offers no protection to anyone, but that same sword, gripped firmly by a skilled warrior and deployed at the decisive moment, holds the power to defend or save an entire kingdom. Your goodness must function according to this same strategic principle. When you offer assistance, it must be intentional and calculated. When you choose to show mercy, it must be strategic and purposeful. When you extend generosity, it must be designed to engineer the exact long-term outcome you desire. The law of focused impact. Let's refine the approach to maximize impact. Instead of dissipating your resources by aiding everyone a little bit, you must help the right, high-leverage people a lot. Instead of being generically nice to every casual acquaintance, you must be exceptionally and memorably kind to those who fundamentally matter to your trajectory and values. Instead of mindlessly saying yes to every demand, you must say a decisive, powerful yes only to those things that align perfectly with your ultimate goals. This highly selective approach yields 3 immediate, potent results. First, your assistance instantly becomes more valuable because it is a scarce resource. Second, you generate a bigger, more meaningful positive impact because your energy is focused and not diffused. Third, people respect you more because your selectivity communicates high self-value. Think of respected historical figures. They were strategically good. They used their virtue as a precision tool to create massive change, not as a casual method to be liked by every single person. To see this strategic calculus in action, understand that every choice is an exchange. Machiavelli stated, "The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." This is not an endorsement of betrayal. It is a description of the strategic reality of finite commitment. What he meant is this: sometimes keeping your most crucial promise, your word, to one person means you are forced to break a lesser, implied commitment to another. Sometimes being good to your immediate family by prioritizing their time requires you to be firm, boundaries enforcing with your co-workers. Sometimes protecting the strategic viability of your future dreams demands that you disappoint people who wish to use your limited time. Strategic virtue is not about being selfish, it is about being ruthlessly effective. Before you say yes to any request, you must subject it to a rigorous 3-question test. Does this request align perfectly with my core values and long-term goals? Can I fulfill this request without critically depleting my emotional or strategic reserves? Will this person genuinely appreciate and respect the sacrifice I am making? If the answer to any of these questions is a decisive no, you do not just explain your refusal, you must say no, kindly, but with unyielding firmness. When you do choose to say yes, you execute it fully, giving your best effort, creating real, memorable value, and making a meaningful difference. This disciplined approach ensures that your yeses truly matter, your assistance is remembered as exceptional, and your generosity actively creates loyalty instead of entitlement. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose effective kindness, not blind submission. Number 6. The illusion of gratitude. Here is a psychological principle that will fundamentally alter how you view human nature forever. Gratitude is temporary. It possesses a definite, chilling expiration date in people's memories. I know this may be difficult to internalize, but it is an immutable truth of the strategic world. The favors you grant, the assistance you perpetually provide, and the personal sacrifices you make, all of these become psychologically devalued over time. Repeated favors cease to feel like generous gifts and quickly morph into assumed obligations. What begins as a sincere "thank you so much" swiftly deteriorates into "you should do this," and eventually into the hostile demand, "why didn't you do this?" Consider the highly relatable scenario of a neighbor. You help them move into a new house. They are initially incredibly grateful. You help them move again 6 months later. They are still thankful, but noticeably less excited. You help them a 3rd time. Now they just expect it. By the 4th time, they don't even bother to ask. They simply assume your assistance is guaranteed. And if you are, for any justifiable reason, unable to help, suddenly you are branded the bad guy. the unsupportive neighbor, the psychological cost of abundance. This is not malice. This is human psychology in action. We are hardwired to adapt to good treatment. We take sustained kindness for granted. We begin viewing exceptional voluntary generosity as the normal, expected baseline of treatment. In the end, people primarily remember the advantage they derived from you, not the generosity you willingly extended. This pattern is relentless. The person who is always available becomes the person everyone expects to be available. The reliable solver becomes the automatic target for every problem, and when that person finally asserts a boundary or says no, they are treated as if they have committed an act of gross betrayal. The more consistently kind you are, the less intrinsic value your kindness retains. The more accessible you make yourself, the less special your availability becomes. The more you give without demanding anything in return, the more people make the dangerous assumption that your giving comes at zero cost to you. This is the illusion of gratitude. We mistakenly believe that a greater volume of good deeds will yield more gratitude when, in fact, it yields the opposite, a proportional increase in entitlement. The people who genuinely appreciate you most are often the people you help least frequently. Conversely, the people who exploit you most often are usually the people you serve most habitually. The strategic response, intentional scarcity. Machiavelli gave the strategist the ultimate blueprint for navigating this human flaw. Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. For everyone can see and few can feel, people judge your present actions more clearly than they remember your past deeds. Your history of kindness becomes psychologically invisible. Therefore, your current actions are the only metrics by which they will judge you. Understanding this psychological reality does not compel you to abandon kindness. It mandates that you deploy it strategically and with precision. Set non-negotiable boundaries. Make your time and energy visibly finite resources. Make help conditional. Occasionally require a measurable commitment or reciprocal effort in exchange for your high-value help. Create absence. Let people experience, even briefly, the tangible discomfort of what it is like when you are not there to instantly solve their problems. When you implement these boundaries, you transform yourself from a limitless resource into a strategic asset. You create lasting impact by making your kindness rare, powerful, and memorable. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I deploy my resources strategically to create lasting impact. Number 7. The supremacy of results over motives. The world does not judge your heart. It measures your outcomes. You might possess the purest intentions, but if your actions fail to produce the tangible results you sought, your motives are utterly irrelevant. History does not reserve space for people who merely meant well. It reserves space only for people who got things done. Let me ask you a strategic question. Would you rather be remembered as someone who was undeniably nice but accomplished nothing of lasting value, or someone who might have seemed tough but demonstrably made the world, your business, or your family better off? Most men instinctively choose the first option because it feels safer. But here is the brutal, undeniable truth. Being remembered as just nice is the psychological equivalent of being forgotten entirely. The moral calculus of effectiveness. There is a necessary, complex truth to power. Sometimes being truly good requires executing actions that do not look good on the surface. Surface-level kindness often creates nothing more than temporary comfort, while a truly tough decision creates lasting, necessary impact. Scenario: the disciplined parent. A parent who rigorously disciplines their child is not being cruel. They are being good by enforcing the lessons and boundaries necessary for the child's survival and future success in the real world. Scenario: the effective leader. A boss who sets high, unyielding standards is not being unreasonable. They are demonstrating respect for their team's potential and helping them grow stronger through challenge. Scenario: The strategic teacher. A teacher who gives tough, honest grades is not being malicious. They are preparing their students for the harsh, unforgiving metrics of the market. Real goodness is defined by results, not appearances. It is about creating positive, sustainable outcomes, not just engineering temporary positive feelings. This is precisely where most well-intentioned people fail. They focus solely on being liked instead of being effective. They choose fleeting comfort over necessary growth. They pick temporary, fragile peace over lasting positive change. The Machiavellian mandate. If you are not achieving the positive results you desire from your actions, you are not being good enough. You are merely being nice. And there is a profound difference. Nice people pathologically avoid conflict. Good people strategically resolve it. Nice people tell others what they want to hear. Good people tell people what they need to hear. Nice people maintain the status quo. Good people execute change. The world is already saturated with nice people who accomplish nothing of consequence. What the world demands is good people who get results. Machiavelli, in his most famous and often misunderstood quote, provided the final mandate: the end justifies the means. This is not a dark invitation to commit evil. What it truly means is that your good intentions are meaningless if they fail to generate good, tangible results. People do not live inside the warmth of your heart. They live with the consequences of your definitive actions. Remember this: real goodness requires profound courage. It requires you to prioritize verifiable outcomes over superficial appearances. It requires you to permanently stop asking, "Will they like me for this?" and start asking, "Will this action actually make things better in the long run?" At the end of the day, people will not remember the purity of your intentions. They will remember what you built, what you changed, and the legacy you decisively left behind. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I focus on outcomes. My results define my morality. Number, legacy through strategic survival. Let's discuss the ultimate measure of a life: legacy and survival. History does not honor those who were merely agreeable or passively pleasant. History honors those who survived, endured the chaos, and forged their outcomes into lasting greatness. Pause and genuinely think about this. Can you readily name 5 people from history universally known only for being nice? Probably not. But you can instantly name 5 figures, whether political, business, or artistic, who created lasting, definitive change, even if their methods were often difficult and unpopular. Steve Jobs was not defined by his affability. He was a demanding perfectionist who created products that fundamentally changed how billions of people live. I am not instructing you to adopt cruelty. I am stating that being remembered for making a difference is an infinitely superior legacy to being forgotten for being merely agreeable. The law of preservation. Here is the truth most people fail to grasp about legacy. You cannot possibly leave a positive mark on the world if you do not survive long enough to create one. And survival, in business, in complex relationships, and in life itself, demands far more than just being good. It requires being sharp, strategic, and sometimes ruthlessly tough. The kindest individuals in the world cannot help anyone if they are crushed by the very forces they refuse to oppose. The most generous people cannot give anything if they deplete their resources too early. The most honest voices are instantly silenced by those who prefer comfortable lies. You have to survive first, then you can thrive, then you can create the legacy you are destined for. This mandate translates to deliberate action. You must protect yourself so you possess the means to protect others. You must rigorously build yourself up so you have the capacity to lift others up. You must become strong so you can effectively help the weak. This is not selfishness, it is strategic sustainability. It is not cruel, it is careful preservation. It is not an abandonment of goodness. It is the preservation of your power so that your goodness can actually make a measurable difference. Look at those who create lasting positive change. They are not pushovers. They are not people pleasers. They are unafraid to draw boundaries, say a decisive no, and execute hard, necessary decisions. They understand that being good is not synonymous with being weak. It is about being powerful enough to choose goodness when it strategically matters most. The final moral calculus. Machiavelli's profound insight, often taken out of context, provides the final moral calculus. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. What he truly meant is this: respect matters more than fickle affection. Impact matters more than transient popularity. Results matter more than fragile feelings. You do not have to make a false choice between being good and being strong. You can and you should be both. But if external pressures force a selection, choose strength first, because strength is the strategic currency that gives you the power to enact goodness when it genuinely counts. Weakness simply makes you a victim, even when you possess the best intentions. Goodness devoid of strategy is the single most dangerous trap you can fall into. It makes you vulnerable to calculated exploitation. It drains your resources until you have nothing left to give. It creates unsustainable expectations, and ultimately it sabotages your ability to create the positive impact you truly desire to make. But goodness armed with strategy, that becomes a weapon of survival and enduring influence. It becomes the tool for creating real, tangible change. It becomes the essential foundation for a life and legacy that truly commands attention. You now possess the knowledge of the shocking cost of blind goodness. You understand why unconditional generosity can lead to resentment, why temporary gratitude fades, and why pure intentions without measurable results are irrelevant. More importantly, you know exactly how to transform your goodness from a liability into a strategic strength, how to be kind effectively, how to help strategically, and how to create outcomes that will stand the test of time. Before you leave this video, I demand you make a definitive decision. Will you continue to be good in the old way, blindly, without boundaries, until it destroys your resources? Or will you begin being good in the new way, strategically, effectively, and powerfully? Here is the real question that will determine your future. Will you let goodness weaken you, or will you master it and turn it into power? The choice is yours, but now you possess the full knowledge to choose wisely. Drop this final affirmation in the comments. I master strategic goodness. Remember, in a world full of wolves, don't be a sheep. Be a shepherd. Be someone who protects the flock, not through weakness, but through wisdom, strategy, and unyielding strength.